Today, we are playing Dark Souls 2 many years later. Spoiler alert, I actually love this game, but at the same time I feel that this could have been in some aspects a way better product.
Fuck! Shit! God damn it!
Now, don't get me wrong, I am now on my way with my third playthrough of Dark Souls 2, and I never completed this game before until now. So my opinion on this game is based after playing the whole Dark Souls franchise, including Bloodborne.
I do still have to play Sekiro. But yeah, that's in my to-do list.
And even though I would personally say that Dark Souls 2 is the worst Souls game out of all, that doesn't necessarily make it a bad game. Although, if someone watching this doesn't know anything about what a Dark Souls experience is, well, it is basically an adventure on a dark world with a very deep and ambiguous story where said world is extremely hostile and you, as the player, will die a lot due to the high difficulty of these games. There is mostly a Metroidvania factor, where most areas of this world are explorable either at an early stage of the game or at a later stage of the game. All of this followed by a great and satisfying combat system and obviously a punishing death system. And all these factors are key in these Souls games. So now, let's dive into this Dark Souls 2 retrospective. Is it a bad game, just like some people say? And what's good about it? So, ladies and gentlemen, I am Nuggets.
And welcome to my YouTube gaming show.
So after playing this game 2 times in the recent weeks, I guess I have some important conclusions to point out in this video. And honestly, I've heard horrible things about Dark Souls 2. Most of these criticisms towards the game have very valid points that I personally share. However, many critics and hardcore fans of the franchise claimed that this game is horribly bad.
And to be honest, I think they are exaggerating just a little bit. I mean, the fact that it's a different game, the fact that it's different from the other Souls games, that doesn't make it a bad game. It's just different and it has a different feel. Again, it's not bad.
So let's start with the positive aspects of Dark Souls 2, starting with Majula. This is your main hub in the game, your resting place. This area will be burnt in your mind after playing countless amounts of hours, since you will be returning here every now and then to upgrade your stats, your Estus flasks, and your weapons. Also, from here, you will part to different key areas of the game to advance in the main story and adventure. But here's the thing, there is something just magical about Majula. In Dark Souls 1 and 3, you have the Firelink shrines, which I love as well. But Majula for me stands out as the best main hub of the whole franchise. Just think about it. You are, as the player, in this very dark and grim world. Everything is hostile and even to a certain degree, depressive. Whenever I came back to Majula to level up, I honestly just sat there for a while drinking my cup of tea. I would just stay there and enjoy the amazing and calm soundtrack that plays in this place. You really feel connected to this world thanks to Majula.
To be completely honest, I think Majula is like a huge masterpiece. I don't know anybody who has played Dark Souls 2 and does not remember Majula the way I do. Because Majula just feels like you are in this world, in this place, this safe zone, and you're completely free from all kinds of hostile enemies, and you're in peace. So a lot of times I just sit down and relax so much, and I'm like just chilling.
This is a really nice place. I would say this is one of my favorite parts of the game, one of my favorite areas. I wish it was bigger, to be honest, but it's nice. Pretty intense also. But something really good about this game is how the amount of variety that there is in the levels, like how many levels and different zones and areas this game has. In that aspect, this game is pretty rich. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this game has an insane amount of different areas. These areas can be so different from each other. It feels like you're exploring an actual huge world. You go from foggy forests to huge dark castles, all the way to a menacing valley of drakes. Also, if you play the DLCs of the game, it even adds more to the equation. It happens most of the time that I step into a new area and I just stare at it, walk slowly and enjoy the environment. And that's something great about Dark Souls 2. It's not visually the best game out of all, but it's still very pleasing to the eye. Especially when art direction is really good at certain places. There is this early area in the game called Heidi's Tower, and it's beautiful. You have this amazing lighting, and this incredible, stunning place filled with giant enemies and a huge red dragon.
And that is just one of the initial areas of the game. There are a lot of places to explore and a lot of areas, and honestly, you will feel immersed by a lot of these places. And I personally enjoyed it a lot.
You can't stop switching different armor sets and different weapons and shields and all that stuff. I mean, I can't change too much because I'm upgrading one type of weapon, but it's still like, it's very tempting to try different builds or different armor sets and all that stuff because they have like different effects or different stats, or just because they look really cool, you know, they look different. Something that really surprised me from this game is the insane amounts of weapons you can use and armor sets of all kinds. Some of these have some effects that can be beneficial for you, like the Blossom Kite Shield. That increases, by the way, your stamina regeneration speed, so the amount of different builds you can make is pretty interesting. Please. Fuck! Jesus! I wanna die.
It's funny because I think I just love the death system in Dark Souls 2. It's punishing enough that it makes you feel guilty for each time you die. It's like you just care for the life of your character a lot. You don't want to die at any costs. It just makes your life very valuable.
The death system of this game is very punishing. So it makes you value your life a lot more and you try harder than ever not to die. In this game you have your human state and your undead state. When you are human, you have your full health bar available. However, if you die as a human, you will turn undead, or, the game says, hollow. And that will reduce your maximum health available. But this is gradual, so if you die once, you lose very little health. But if you keep dying, you will gradually lose a lot of your maximum health. And the only way to restore your humanity and get that full health bar again is to use a human effigy. The problem is that human effigies are not a very common item to find, but if you play very well and die a few times, you'll never run out of them. This reminds me of Demon Souls, where it punishes you in a very similar fashion, but in that game it was not a gradual health bar loss, so it made it even more punishing than in Dark Souls 2. In Dark Souls 2, you at least have a margin of error. It's okay to die once or twice, since your health bar won't be reduced by much, but try not to die often, or else you will feel obligated to use human effigies to get your health back. I gotta say, this is one of my favorite things of this game, and it's surprising to see that there is like no kind of similar system in the other Dark Souls games. Like, I really like this torch system, like going to your bonfire and lighting up a torch and lighting up the whole area because this place is pitch dark and all that. I don't know, I think it's really awesome, to be honest. I think it's really cool. And I really miss having this maybe on Dark Souls 3. In fact, in Dark Souls 3 I actually missed having a whole pitch black area and you have to light it up all the way, you know. I don't know, I love this. I honestly love this. This is a system that is exclusive to this game alone, and I honestly miss this feature in other Dark Souls games. In this game, you can light up different torches to light up a whole area. Some of these areas are literally pitch black, which is something that you don't see often in other games of the franchise. In Dark Souls 1, for example, you had the Tomb of Giants, which I liked the added difficulty of having to explore a totally dark area. So I enjoyed these dark places in Dark Souls 2. There is this one area in particular called No Man's Wharf, which is a pirate-themed level. And it's almost pitch black, so exploring the area, dealing with the enemies and lighting up the torches just feels great. It's difficult since your left hand is holding the torch, but at the same time it's satisfying to see the whole area totally lit after exploring.
And I love that.
Something I also enjoyed as a final point is the DLC bosses. They are pretty much the best bosses of the game. Although I do have to say that if you don't deal with them with co-op, either summoning NPCs or summoning players, they will be extremely hard.
And I also overall enjoyed the story of Dark Souls 2. It is a very deep and depressing and sad story, to be honest. I'm not going to get into spoilers, don't worry, but it's just thinking about the story of King Bendrick, which is the king of Drangleic. Think about King Bendrick and how he just became hollow and just walks aimlessly in the undead crypt, and everything he had, he just lost it all.
But, ladies and gentlemen, how about the negatives of Dark Souls 2? Because obviously that is something we really have to talk about in this video. And this game is obviously far from perfect. See, like, this is the thing I find weird in this game, is the movement. The way your character moves is just off. Like, it's not that it's bad, it's just different. Like, for some reason your character snaps into different directions, and it's like, doesn't feel like a full circle. You can't do a full circle. So the movement in this game doesn't feel right. It is, indeed, a 360-degree movement. But for some reason, it snaps in 8 specific directions. Imagine holding a GameCube controller where the joystick had these 8 notches. When you played games on the GameCube, character movements was usually limited by these notches, and you would move mainly in 8 directions. So in Dark Souls 2, you have this feeling of playing with a GameCube controller without using one. The game, in its code, for some reason snaps your character in 8 different directions. This can be tough in many situations, especially narrow platforms where you can easily fall down. And because of this, I ended up using the camera to move my character more than the actual movement joystick. Many times I want to turn very slightly to the right or to the left, but because of how they made the code for the movements, I can't rely safely on the joystick that moves the character. Instead, I rely on my camera, just by pushing forward for the character to move, and then turning my camera slightly to the direction that I want to turn. For example, I turn my camera left, and so my character just moves slightly to the left.
Again, this is not a huge deal. In Dark Souls 1 and 3, your movement is completely 360 degree. In this game, it is not that much. And in the other Dark Souls, like Dark Souls 1 and 3, like you usually don't die for stupid things like falling down from a ledge just because of the movements of the game. If you fall down, it's because of your own mistake, but not because of a technical issue that comes from the game itself. In Dark Souls 2, that happens. That can happen, actually.
Another thing that calls to my attention a lot is the world design. Now, don't get me wrong. Earlier in this video, I praised the variety the game offered in terms of levels and areas. The problem is how these levels are connected. And probably most of you are tired of this example, but literally someone explained to me how you are in a tower-like building. You grab an elevator heading to the sky, and you suddenly find yourself in the middle of a lava fortress. And no, when you are outside this tower-like building, you definitely cannot see the lava fortress in the sky, which by the way, it's called the Iron Keep. It's just a very random level design decision, and this is something that bothers me a little bit, because other Soulsborne games have treated world design with a lot of care. The world in the other Souls games just made more sense. Everything and every area was more connected. In Dark Souls 2, you feel like going into random different levels that just make no sense, one next to the other. They should have made something like in Demon Souls, make very different areas and levels, but just don't connect them, since the immersion breaks at some moments because of the poor connection between these levels. I can't believe this is like in the actual sky, you know? I came from an elevator and I went all the way up to the sky and I suddenly see myself in the middle of this lava fortress, or well, it's the Iron Keep, but yeah, you know, I don't know, it's so weird, man. I love this place though, I love the design of this place, but it's just weird. It's just weird how you go to this place. Oh boy, and here comes one of the things I hate the most from Dark Souls 2. ADP, or in other words, adaptability.
Adaptability is a new stat introduced in this video game, and adaptability, or also known as ADP, is a stat that defines the amount of iframes you have whenever you roll. In case you don't know what an iframe is, iframes are invulnerability frames. It defines for how much time you're invulnerable whenever you're rolling. So this happens in a lot of games, not only in Dark Souls. Like when you evade an attack, you have this margin of error where you can see visually and literally the enemy hitting you, but you're not receiving any kind of damage because you're using those iframes in your favor. The game is kinda compensating you for being able to time your evasions correctly.
So in Dark Souls 2, iframes depend on this stat called ADP. The more you level up this stat, the more iframes you get when rolling. So if you don't level up your adaptability or ADP, it doesn't matter how well you time your rolling in this game. You will most of the times get hit by enemies' attacks. But why am I criticizing this? Well, because the game never tells you this in a straightforward manner. I came to Dark Souls 2 after beating Bloodborne and Dark Souls 1, so I took for granted that the iframes were going to be just a thing by default in the game. I thought they were not going to depend on any stats at all. Well, when I saw that rolling was useless and I was getting hit all the time, even when rolling at the right time to evade attacks, I had to desperately search on Google why the heck I was dying all the time. And that's when I saw the community talk about this ADP stat. The more you level it up, the more iframes you get, and therefore the better you can evade attacks by rolling. So imagine starting with an initial class that has an ADP level of 3, like the Bandit class, and having to spend minimum 12 levels to have a decent amount of iframes so your rolling is significant enough. Well, that was me in my very first playthrough of this game. I started with the Bandit class and I had a super low ADP level. So it was very frustrating to me to level that stat up instead of leveling other more interesting stats like strength, vitality, endurance, etc.
And something I wouldn't say I dislike, but it is true that it brings other issues to this game. And that is the game engine. The game has a different engine from the other Dark Souls games, so some things feel a bit off.
Yes, Dark Souls 2 uses a different game engine from Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3, which it doesn't have to be a bad thing really, but it really is when some key things that made the franchise great don't work the way they should or as effective as they used to be. For example, backstabbing an enemy in this game feels very off. Poise and staggering is also weird. When you get staggered in this game, you literally take a long time to get back into action. Your character just becomes useless for like 2 or 3 valuable seconds. Also, staggering enemies by blocking with a shield or by hitting them is also very rare. So don't rely on staggering enemies to be able to kill them. Also, other small details like target lock on enemies also feels very off. Many times the game targets the wrong enemy. Also, even if you're targeting someone, if you move your stick to a different direction and then attack, your character will attack into that direction instead of focusing on your enemy. Weird little things that should not happen. Things that other games of the franchise don't happen to have.
And last, but certainly not least, something that I disliked from this game was the incredible amount of bosses. Now, I'm not against obviously fighting bosses, but it is true that many of these bosses, many of these encounters are not that memorable. It's not something that just stays there in your brain. Many of these bosses, I don't even remember most of them.
I don't know how many bosses this game has, but very few of these bosses are actually memorable. You have some, like the Persecutor, the Looking Glass Knight, the Guardian Dragon, or Nashandra, that are indeed bosses that you probably won't forget, but many others just feel like a bit random. This doesn't have to be something very negative, but I feel like either they had to make more memorable bosses, or just take some bosses out of the game and expand the areas of the game and make them bigger and way more interesting. I'm actually fighting a rat boss. Like, this boss is a rat, surrounded with a lot of other rats, and you gotta kill all the rats. Well, you don't have to kill all the rats, just find the main boss and that's it, and GG. So, in conclusion, yes, I love this game. I know I might have sounded negative towards the end of this video, but to be honest, Dark Souls 2 is in a special place in my heart. It is the black sheep of the franchise, but I love it. In fact, I would never expect myself to be playing this game for the third time weeks ago. So don't let yourself be fooled by many who say this game is trash. It is good, and it's a great experience, trust me. Just simply be warned that the game feels very different than the other games of the franchise. So if you come from playing any other Soulsborne game, you will notice that this game just feels very different. So you have to play Dark Souls 2 with a different mindset than what you are probably used to.
So ladies and gentlemen, that is all. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you liked this video. Don't forget to click that like button, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so like that you know whenever I upload different types of videos, not only Dark Souls, like video games in general, especially newer games. So stay tuned, because I'm, for example, going to be talking about Resident Evil Village very soon as it releases. So stay tuned for that, people. I'll see you in the next video, and have a wonderful day. See ya.